Yes!
Yes. Hi, darling.
Hello, Pep. Oh my, do you have a wind machine going on right now?
No.
Oh no?
It's natural.
Natural, just standing by the window, letting the breeze catch your hair.
Oh.
You came with a full fantasy. I love this. But is this fashion?
Allegedly.
You look fabulous. You really look wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. I just feel like I need to channel your energy in the video with Bob and just like scream going back and forth because yes! I am so
Somebody
excited.
called it the windshield wiper.
Yes, the windshield wiper. I am going to be doing that, resisting doing that this whole live because I'm so excited to talk with you. And of course, you're here for no other reason other than you are.
Naomi's mom is here.
Oh,
Sorry.
is Naomi here?
Hey,
Hey,
Roscoe's
Naomi.
Tavern. Hey, Anthony Ramos.
Oh, what? Anthony Ramos is here?
Yes, darling. Creeping.
Oh.
I have a interview with Anthony from Glad in a month. But anyway, whatever. Who cares? We're here right now. Boom.
I mean, we could just perform for him. I mean, I'm all
no,
for
we have to
that.
do the windshield wiper again.
Windshield. I was gonna say you are here for no other reason other than you are a world-renowned icon just for appearing on America's Next Top Model for 10 minutes. That's the only reason you're here.
I mean, the truth. It is the truth. A lot of people don't even know. It's funny. No, a lot of people didn't even know that I was on Top Model until after having been on Drag Race. And I guess now we know who the super fans of Top Model are because they're like, oh, like they're outing themselves. And I love it.
You look, back at the time, I think when I watched that, I was not aware of how legendary you truly were. But then, yes, going back and watching it, it is like, I screamed when I first saw it. I was like, that's Pep, it's Pep, it's Pep. So it's a great moment to go back and revisit.
A quick tea about that moment was, I mean, I feel like I can say anything now that the show's, is the show canceled? I don't even know if the show still comes on.
Who knows?
Every time I think that Top Model is canceled, then they're announcing a new season, and I'm just like, what's going on? Anyway, they asked me to come. It wasn't even an audition. They were like, oh my God, will you come and do this thing? I'm like, yes, what's the coin? They're like, yes, okay, sounds good. And I showed up, and there was like a rehearsal the day before, and then we went, and then and they were like, okay, like at the moment in time when we shot that in fashion was like jumpsuits, like, kind of like almost like air like overalls, coveralls, over like big things that were like big. And Tyra looked gorgeous in her thing. And the producer was like, you really should be wearing a coverall. Like one of those things that like a garbage man wears.
Right.
And I was like, it is not gonna look the same on me that it would look on Tyra, because I'm supposed to be a drag Tyra. And I was like, y'all, I'm gonna wear what's in my closet. Don't be trying to put me in no jail jumpsuit. Because they will not come off looking like Tyra.
Right. No, you knew what was up. You knew
I knew what was up.
You did. And now, all these years later, you are now an Oscar winner. You're fresh off your Oscar victory for your performance in, that video, according to Lee Dawson. I laughed so hard when I saw you and Bob doing the acceptance speech that Lee had you guys do. Like, it was so great. So he just like asked you guys to do that, and you were just like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Yeah, well, Bob was like, hey, like we all kind of came at the same moment because we saw the video that he put together, and we're like, you know what, this is actually cute, but it was all nominees, so someone should win, and so obviously we want to win, and so we were like, yeah, let's do it,
Yeah. It's a really great video. I'm so glad that you guys had a really good sense of humor about that, and I have just bbeen dying to do this with you on camera. Can we just do this for a second? Yeah, I do it with everybody who comes on Queening Out, so I had to do it with you, the source. Now, obviously, today we do have, I think, very serious things to talk about. There's a lot going on in the world with Breonna Taylor and protests, and I do want to talk to you about that because you have been so inspiring with your activism this summer and always. So I do want to talk to you about that. after we discussed this exciting project that you do have, your music release, A Girl Like Me, Letters to My Lovers, which is out on October 16th. So I would like to know, in your own words, what this album is about and what it sort of means to you as an artist.
What this moment means to me?
The album.
The album, sorry.
That's okay.
The album is, I mean, look, it's not my first album. It's my third or fourth, one of them, I don't even keep count. And every single time I do an album, I'm like, I just want to do, look, I'm an independent artist. Most of us are independent artists until we're like Britney Spears. And so I was like, let me go ahead and just do what I want to do. And so that's always been my approach.
Yeah.
This time around, I decided to take that all the way. Because in the past, it had always been, let me do what I want to do and make some fun music, like that's very drag-centric. But this time around, I've just, given the times that we're in, the conversations that a lot of people are having lately, I wanted to do something that was more serious or like spoke to the other side of me, the stuff that isn't always available on like Drag Race episodes and things like that. And it was basically inspired by my diary. I was writing in my diary after having a breakup and, set my diary to music. And here we have it, Letters to My Lovers.
Well, first of all, I curse the person who ever had the nerve to break up with you. That is horrible. Because you were a goddess.
I was watching.
I was going to say, has this person heard any of these songs or given any response to any of these songs?
Well, he hasn't responded. I mean, the album's not out, but I hope that he has pre-saved it and will purchase the album. And he can feel free to leave a comment.
Well, I didn't know if you were like, maybe created like a fake Gmail and just sent him like a secret link to it and be like,
I didn't do any of that. I did tell him, just like for karma's sake, that there would be music coming out that was heavily reflective on our relationship. However, it's not like, I don't say his name in it or anything like that. I don't give up his address for my friends to go beat him up.
Maybe sometime soon. Now, these are, I was reading up a little bit about this release, and it says that there are notes from your personal diaries, and there's some interludes on here that are really cool. So was this just like you were writing your diaries, and one day, as you were writing in your diary, you were like, oh, this would make a really cool song? Or like, was it sort of a retrospective thing? Like you were looking back on your diaries and being like, okay, yeah, this could be something that could work as a song?
It was basically the former. I was like, writing in it, and I guess maybe I kind of think sort of musically anyway. And I was like, you know what? This looks like it would be a good song. Or if this is a song, good song or not, it's a song. And that was pretty much what I did. And then, of course, when we actually got into the studio, into the process, then I was able to kind of, zhuzh it up and add a little jazz to it and all of that. But the basic ideas and the premise, not like every lyric, but the ideas and the premise were pulled right from my diary.
Was there anything that you, I guess, like going back and looking at some of your old diary entries, was there anything that you had forgotten about that you'd written that you just looked at and you were like, girl, what was I thinking?
No, unfortunately, I can't say unfortunately. The stuff that I wrote in my diary, it wasn't really that far from me. It was all very fresh. And I remember it just like it all happened yesterday, the relationship. And I'm still kind of in that, like, grieving stage, if that is a thing. There's certain anniversaries that are coming up or that had passed that I can't wait to get past. Like a year ago, we were right here. Or like, a year ago we were watching that thing, or like whatever. And so, or here's that song that we were listening, last time I heard it was a year ago. And so some of those, there's only one more of those dates coming up, and then we are through. And it's actually the release of it's the week the album releases, which is a total coincidence.
Wow.
It's the anniversary of the last time we were together in person.
That has to be, I mean, tough to revisit, but has going through this process of this album and writing these songs and getting it out there in the world, has that been like a therapeutic or like a catharsis for you in a way?
Maybe in hindsight, yes. Certainly writing the album, and then I wanted to do, because of COVID and the pandemic and us staying inside for safety, we weren't able to do, this wasn't a normal like album release, even by a independent artist standpoint. And so we weren't able to shoot a normal music video, or weren't able to have a normal record release or go on tour, which all that was scheduled for earlier in 2020, but things changed.
Yeah.
And so we decided to take a beat, and we obviously are putting it out now. And instead of doing like regular music videos, we decided to do we were going to try to do music videos, and then it ended up being a film. I just produced a short film.
Yeah.
Scored by my music. And
That's
so
amazing.
people will be able to watch that coming up. And in addition to that, at the end of the month, we're having a concert, not a consort.
I was gonna say, what? What? It's like, that's a first for an album.
A concert coming up at the end of the month. Now, that's for folks who live internationally in Canada and beyond.
Okay.
And that'll be on Out TV. That's a sneak peek. Nobody knows that, but I guess I kind of just dropped it. I'm not sure if that should be though.
Well, you
But
did
it's
call me
coming
your
up.
favorite Drag Race reporter, so it only is fitting.
It's the truth.
Thank you so
Um,
much.
and so that comes out I don't have the date yet, but that comes out at the end of the month.
Okay.
And then I'm doing a live sort of show. It's not really a concert, but it's like a hybrid between a listening party and a show. I'm doing a little bit of performance, and we're listening to the album. A first listen coming up at the end of October as well, a couple weeks after the album comes out. And that'll be on all of my channels. It'll be on my Twitch channel.
I will be watching. For sure.
No one knows that yet. These are 2 pieces of information that literally we decided a couple of days ago. No one. But the film also comes out at the end of the month. Like all this stuff comes out around the time of the album release, and so people will be able to see a real depiction of a relationship and what was really important for me to talk about. In addition to being like, having an album like I'm cute, I'm this, I'm that. I wanted to have an album that not only talks about my feelings on the inside, but really gives kind of homage and pays tribute to the beautiful part of the relationship.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important for people to be able to see trans people living and loving and being joyous. And so hopefully we're able to show that to people.
Yes.
And hopefully tune in and see it, folks.
Absolutely. And I think that I do like that you said that you want to explore all of the facets of a relationship here, because the release of the song, I believe Best Sex is going to be the song that is coming, correct?
Best Sex is the first single.
Okay.
And it's kind of how the whole story starts.
Yeah.
Because there's some people that have some really good attributes to them.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them are only sexual. And then all the other attributes are
trash. Well, because I believe in the release, it says, it quotes you as saying it's a song for and about my addiction to fuckboys, which I was like, I think it's about time somebody acknowledge the vitality.
They're a real thing.
Yeah, they are a real thing, and it is okay to be into the one part that is redeeming about a fuckboy.
The one literal, physical.
Oh well,
part.
I did. Well, okay, yes, we can. Yeah, we can say we can do.
Next, don't. I'm a Christian woman, honey.
Oh, I love you so much. But I think it's why do you think this song was the right one to introduce us to the world of this album?
Well, everybody loves sex. Sex sells. And it is, there are a few reasons. Number one, it's kind of a different tone. It's a love album, but love can involve sex. But this is not a love song. It is a song about fuckboys and sex, right? And so that happens to have been the way in which, I mean, I've dealt with plenty of them, whether I wanted to or not. And that happens to be kind of what I was dealing with before my relationship actually started. I actually met my ex. It was a hookup.
Wow.
That went well, very well, and it turned out to be more than that. And so I wanted to kind of shed some light. You know, I wasn't like walking in a field next to a rainbow and smelling daisies when I met him. It was like a raunchy sex. If there's any children to help get out of the room. But it was like we were having some hot sex.
Yeah.
And that was not only my ex, but like I've had, you know, connections with other folks. And none of them ended up in a relationship with me. And so I wanted to kind of acknowledge that, because in reality, I think, not to say that queer people are promiscuous by any stretch of the imagination. I think everyone is.
Yeah.
But I do think that to be with all the stuff that we do deal with and have dealt with in this country and beyond, with regards to queer equality and rights, a queer person, a young queer person who lives in a city, a big city, probably is well acquainted with the world of hookup culture. I'll just say that. And for trans women, unfortunately, having quote unquote conventional relationships, like the guy that wants the partner or the person that wants to introduce you to their family and their friends and take you out in public, is rare. But the person who wants to like get you in the bed, there's a diamond.
A lot. Yeah.
And so I think it was really important, in order for me to be able to acknowledge some of the other things that go on, I really needed to talk about that first. And it's kind of fun.
Well, it's funny because I'm thinking of the documentary Disclosure over the summer.
Yeah.
And I believe that there's some discussion in there about how sexuality with trans men and trans women is often played like a fetish, or it's like really objectifying in media. But this is just like a pure, honest representation of your sexuality as an individual. And I loved that when I was listening to the song. So did it feel like liberating in a way to sort of sing so openly about sexuality as a trans woman on this song? And how much did past presentations of how you saw trans women's sexuality sort of play into how you approached writing that song?
Well, it is a very honest representation. I mean, I could have gone deeper. Wow! But it's really the byproduct of a lot of the conversation. Obviously my personal experiences and a lot of the conversations that I've had with so many of my close trans girlfriends. Mm-hmm. A lot of us end up, you know, hooking up with the same dude who's not available to take anybody, like who tells you, let me take you on dates, let me bake you a cake, let me introduce you to my whoever, and then doesn't do any of those things, only comes through with sex, and then ends up moving on to one of your friends. And okay, fine, like coincidences happen, but like it's more than coincidences. It's a small pool that we're dealing with, and so these are shared experiences with myself and a lot of my girlfriends, and the same frustrations, right? And you know, I think that is kind of compounded by the fact that, or exacerbated by the fact that, a lot of these dudes, it's not just like single life, dating life. But it's definitely more than that, because a lot of these dudes are dealing, or people, partners, whoever they are dealing with, you know, being maybe kind of closeted or not out about the fact that they're into or dating trans people or having sex with trans people, or what, even to themselves, there's like some like negative kind of emotions going on around that. You know, they're certainly in hiding. There's a lot of just negative feeling and energy around what should be a nice, even if it's just a casual encounter, it can be respectful. It can be open and honest and without like all this negativity and weird baggage that comes in. Baggage is for relationships. It doesn't need to be for a sexual encounter. And so it's kind of like the follow-up to my song. I had another song out on the last album that I did. The album was called Black Pepper. The song was called Shady Phone. And it's kind of like the follow-up to that, you know?
Well, I think that what you're saying sort of ties into the fact that there is a Carole King song on here, well, a cover of a Carole King song, Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow? And it strikes me as something that could be potentially poignant for queer relationships in that sense. So why was that song important for you to sort of weave into the fabric of this, given the themes that you just were talking about?
Yeah, I think it's just really applicable. I mean, a lot of people have had one night stands. Again, one night stands are not. I think a lot of people who are queer are now no stranger to one night stands, and we all have that question, whether you're queer or not. After the first night of romance with somebody, I think that question you kind of can't avoid that question of what is this going to turn into?
Yeah.
What's tomorrow going to be like? When's the other shoe going to drop? Are they married? What's happening? Like all of those things. And so that is what the lyrics spoke. I think the lyrics really speak to that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say what was in Carole King and her. I think it was her ex-husband that she wrote the song with.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I can't say what was in their minds when they wrote it other than what's on the paper, but it feels really applicable. And then when I was going through and I was like, you know what, this song came to mind when we were in the studio. I was trying to think of, we could use one more thing to kind of talk about this. And I was like, let's write something, but I really want to borrow from and I was like, let's not like rewrite the song. Let's just do the song,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I like that too. It's like that's what queer culture and artistry and drag artistry is sort of all about, I guess, is recontextualizing things and making them your own and having them mean new things in the context of your own work. So I really like that you included that song in here. I think it's really powerful. So I want to talk to you about, I mean, obviously you've done so much work with Black Lives Matter and trans rights and using your voice so strongly this summer. And here we are, I mean, one day after very disturbing news that only one officer will be indicted on charges of wanton endangerment in the Breonna Taylor case. So I'm just wondering, in this very raw moment of the, less than 24 hours after getting this, what are you feeling? What are you thinking? Like, what is on your mind right now?
Frustration and anger, honestly, I'm upset but not surprised at the outcome, that essentially these officers murdered a woman and the only crime they were charged with was the bullets that didn't hit her.
Makes no sense.
And it's just all it does, like even from just a logical standpoint, if there's the fact that there was that someone was convicted of a crime, and there was a murder that took place, and we all know murder to be wrong. We all understand murder to be a crime in our culture, and the fact that a murder took place, but it wasn't considered a crime, and the only crime was shooting into the apartment of the next door neighbors who were white. There were next door neighbors there was other shots that were gone into other apartments of Black folks. Those ones were not deemed a crime. Right. Just the one residence, and not even the bullets that were going into the body of the person who died. It's tough to understand. I don't even, you'd have to explain that to me just from like on paper. Like the math doesn't even add up. And so the only explanation again is that we can keep coming back to is that no matter what way you look at it, it's clear that the lives of Black individuals are not valued. If we can shoot up a Black person and there's no crime, but even daring to have a bullet pass through the wall of a white person and it doesn't enter their body, they're fine. Yeah. That's a crime though. What are we saying? And what's the impact? It's not even about what we're saying. What is the impact? And I think it's unfortunate that it has gone out this way, but the only thing, aside from all of this, the one thing that I was hoping at the end of the summer as we go into the fall was like, please, since we're not where we want to be right now, please let us not lose the steam and the energy that was going into marching and speaking out and protesting and talking about all these issues. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem like that's going to happen either, because we keep having more opportunities to talk about these things.
Yeah. It's such a weird conflict. Like, I mean, it's just like that is what it takes to get people to keep paying attention. And it's like, that's such a hard concept, I think, to wrap your mind around. It's like, why? I don't understand why it takes that for people to hold their attention on this. And I mean, I've seen lots of, in this community, especially within the past few months, lots of Drag Race girls and community members have been joining you in this fight and this activism, but I think a lot of them haven't. And I'm just wondering if you think it's acceptable or possible, I guess, in a sense, for a drag performer or a queer artist to exist apolitically. Like, is that even possible right now?
Look, I think anything's possible.
Yeah.
But I do think that I do find it difficult. I think to not acknowledge these things and not mention these things or not, deal with them in some way is to literally work to ignore them. To be a drag performer, I think is political in nature, just by definition in this culture. And so regardless how you identify. And so I think it bewilders me, and I've certainly talked about it before with several folks. It kind of it puzzles me when I encounter a drag performer who isn't involved in that way. But I mean, look, it's a free country, and I can't force people. I can't work to force people to do that. Yeah. I can try to encourage and engage with them and have conversations, and hopefully they'll be as involved and interested and invested in this journey and fight as I am, because that's the only reason I want to get them involved, because it is heavy and tiresome to carry this with less people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that the importance of just talking about it online, and that's doing something in some small way, and you are doing so much more than that. I know that you did the Black Queer Town Hall. That was incredible. I talked to you a little bit about that earlier this year on the podcast that we did, but do you have any more things like that, like huge scale events like that in the works?
There is something that's major that's coming up that Bob and I are doing in conjunction with Black Queer Town Hall and our partners at Virtue, which is a part of Vice. And it is, I'm just going to break it because we're supposed to be announcing it soon anyway. It's called the Most Office. And it's a voting initiative that we are putting together. And so that's our next big sort of partnership with Bob and the Black Queer Town Hall.
Mm-hmm. Well, great. I look forward.
You can go back and see the Black Queer Town Hall and our sort of secondary event called Black Queer Excellence, mm-hmm. which was basically a smaller version of the Black Queer Town Hall that was done in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And people can go and catch those online. They can go to Black Queer Town Hall YouTube and search for us on Twitter and social media, where we post all the clips. We have all of the Drag Race queens there, pretty much, like lots of them. It was a great event.
Yeah. I loved seeing all of the stuff that you did in the past few months, and I look forward to seeing what else you do in the future. I think, though, unfortunately for now, I have to give you the cross fingers because I think we're out of time. We're out of time, no! But thank you so much for joining me and for talking to me about all that you're doing and A Girl Like Me, Letters to My Lovers. Is there anything else that you want to mention before we end?
Absolutely. Please, please, please get yourself some free merch from Peppermint. If you're watching this, follow me on Peppermint247, all channels, and then get some free merch by entering the Letters to My Lovers contest, where basically anybody that pre-saves, that shares their proof of their pre-save, like a screen grab mm-hmm. on social media and hashtags, then we will send you potentially some free merch. Oh.
Okay, that's wonderful. And vote. Everybody register to vote. Vote. And so thank you.
We have to flip the Senate, everyone. So that's why we need you to vote. even if you're not excited, even if you happen to not be excited about the presidential candidates one way or another, you must help flip the Senate. That's the only way we're going to be able to protect ourselves and the Supreme Court, and they'll be able to potentially install maybe new justices, whatever. There's a few different plans going on, but we have to flip the Senate, and you have to vote for the people who make the laws in your city and state and town. Those are the local governments, and those elections are also ending on the 3rd. The election ends on the 3rd. Voting ends on the 3rd. The election is right now. Register and get ready.
Listen to Pep. Listen to Pep, everybody. So thank you, Peppermint, and for everybody to tuning in for another Queening Out. Soon we can say Peppermint's new album, A Girl Like Me, Letters to My Lovers, is available on iTunes, which it will be on October 16th. And join me back here next Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern on Entertainment Weekly's Instagram Live, where we're recapping RuPaul's Drag Race Vegas review with the Real Housewife of Las Vegas himself, Derek Barry. Goodbye, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you, Peppermint. I appreciate everything that you do. I love you so much. Thank you for being here.